trusting. No, I'm not. I force myself. See, like most high-functioning autistic people, I get your emotions. I get your social cues. I ignore them. There's a reason that I ignore them. Your social cues are wrong. Y'all don't know when to shut up and when to speak. This is especially present in what we teach women. Now, we do teach a lot of this cultural stupidity, I suppose is the way to describe it. You know, the thing where you think that everybody should live like you, think like you, be like you, that everyone has the resources that you do, and they really don't. Anyway, at Tillamook Adventist Health, I have not had good experiences. Now, the first time at Tillamook Adventist Health, it wasn't a completely horrible experience, really, but it quickly turned into a bad one. And of course, I don't hate anybody for it. I hate the situation, how it played out. And of course, the disrespect of the officers more than anything else. See, all this bullshit could have been completely circumvented by police officers simply doing their jobs right away like they were fucking supposed to, instead of pawning me off. Mental health, mental health, mental health. You didn't learn your lesson about ignoring me when Benjamin Harvey got his brains blown out. No, he didn't, did he? He froze to death. That's a much worse way to go. You didn't listen to me when it resulted in Natalie's death. You still didn't listen to me. You didn't listen to me about Hardin, Montana, and lo and behold, here comes the situation with Selena Not Afraid. You didn't want to listen. You didn't want to listen about Waylon Lolotai, and look what ended up happening with Waylon Lolotai. You didn't want to listen about Clearview Behavioral Health in Johnstown, Colorado. Look what happened with Clearview Behavioral Health in Johnstown, Colorado. You didn't want to listen to me about the brutality of the cops in Boulder, Colorado, and how funny they think it is. Then Dmitry Shankling ended up dead. Man, we're just not having a good decade, are we? Now there's people that think that, they were told I was murdered, apparently. The last video, I went and talked to the people about it, because it was Jennifer and one of her friends, of course. Well, two of her friends, but one of them, he was just cracking jokes. He didn't know me from Adam, and he didn't know what the questions was, or none of that. Basically, as I was walking by, she said something about I was murdered, and the other dude, like, yeah, I heard that too. Something about me being the guy on the internet, or the guy who records everything. I'm like, yeah. And he said, I heard you were murdered. I'm like, no, obviously not. Obviously that is not the case. I can barely hear because of my ears being clogged. It's kind of, well, it's very unpleasant. It's messing with my equilibrium, which is why I keep belching and breathing funny. That's enough snacks to roll a full cigarette, I think. So let's get to Erica, now that we're 6 minutes in. Yesterday I had to give people a tiny taste of what I go through, in hopes that they might get the point. They didn't like it. What a bunch of lollygagging sissies. That's the thing about equality. If you gotta bully somebody as a group, you're really not that tough. I'm not a popular person. I never intended to be. It would have been nice to be liked by those who liked me, and at least ignored by those who ended up bullying me. But hey, we don't always get what we want, do we? There's a few people that did some pretty fucked up shit to me. When I gave them a tiny taste of what I'm going through, holy shit, they flipped their wig. Some of them, like Scott DaCosta, wanted to say things like, "That's not fair." Well, yeah. He's also the same guy who wanted to tell me life isn't fair. A lot of you guys said that. I'm well aware. Yeah, I blamed him for Natalie Bollinger's death. He said, "That's not fair." I'm like, yeah. And is Scott DaCosta responsible for Natalie Bollinger's death? No, he's not. I was just giving him a tiny taste of his own stupidity and ignorance. Maybe you should use your brain. Maybe you should actually try listening instead of assuming the worst and bullying a victim. Oh, wait. Forgot, it's about popularity. Same as anywhere else. Anyway, the first situation at the hospital there was in November of last year. I was trying to turn in Officer Loffman as well as several others because, quite simply put, they didn't want to do their jobs. They also want to ignore the safety issues and the safety risks. Oh. They did well until Officer Loffman showed up, and when I said he was one of the officers I was trying to turn in, they should have turned him away. That's too much of a safety issue. Same bullshit they pulled in Colorado. Same officers by name. Same thing in Nebraska. Same officers by name. when I needed Jen Beebe to show up so that I could turn in Cody Selhorst and Jared Hahn. They'd gotten to talk to her in table talk before I got there. That's not okay. They told her that I was reaching for their gun and trying to suicide by cop. And then when Jen Beebe was there, she had all this other shit in her head that was gonna happen, and it was all based on not fucking listening to me. That's for damn sure. It was based on listening to my predators. The very two men that I was trying to turn in. So she pulled the suicidal ideations thing when I was like, hey, you need to listen to me instead of pull this suicide BS with me, all right? I'm not trying to commit suicide. And that's the fucking problem with not having a real goddamn friend. And with people like that, working together with the cops, not with the victim. She was supposed to be my case manager, not a fucking backstabber. Later on, she got a job at the jail in Scottsbluff. Jen Beebe fucking sucked. Anyway, November 22nd, when Officer Lothman showed up, that made it unsafe to go to the hospital. Then the next incident was January 28th, when I had a severe panic attack over there at the Denny's over the abuse by several people in town, as well as the harassment by Wendy. Now, if you've paid any attention to the calls with 988 Lifeline, the suicide hotline, 211, and 911, you get to realize that I'm sent around in circles and ain't none of them doing their goddamn jobs. DB Neon 99 typed hey. Hello. The second situation, there was a lady, I believe her name was Catherine or Kate, something like that. She was supposed to be from TFCC. And while I was trying to tell her what was going on and about the abuse, she didn't care about the abuse. She wanted to do the same thing as all these other pieces of shit. She just wanted to focus on the killing yourself bullshit. How about you knock that the fuck off and listen to the goddamn victim? Mexican 445 typed hola. We got to hear a little bit of Erica's voice in one of my videos. I'll have to dig through it and hopefully play the whole video at some point, but I run out of battery pretty quick. It's Monday now, so I got stuff to do in a few hours. I gotta relocate from here over to the spot I was at before. I just wanted to have a cigarette. Mexican 445 typed, I hope everything is okay. No, it's really not. Alright, so the second time when that lady was being a bully and Mike McKinster had left and I was assaulted by Dr. Stephan L. Stephanides, he got a real shitty attitude with me. Just like the lady at the hospital, the doctor lady that I spoke with, got a real shitty attitude with me and fucking brushed me off without allowing me to finish what I was saying. And that's the thing, is that I was afraid that she was going to touch me in the back in the wrong spot, and I wanted to let her know to be careful of it. But that's not what gets to happen, is it? No, she started throwing an attitude and fucking... Well, if I'd have gotten that tone with her, she'd have accused me of yelling at her now, wouldn't she? We've gotten to hear on 988 how literally dozens of women on these websites, or on these call sites, that are supposedly, I don't know what the fuck they are. They're definitely not fucking trained, though. That's pretty obvious. Where they'll try to bully me into whatever it is that they want to hear. Anything that they don't want to hear, they'll just talk over, redirect, and fucking bullshit me. And you get to hear some of these sly bitches. You know, the ones that want to go through the checklist. Oh, we don't have a checklist. Bullshit, bitch. Bullshit. There's the stuff that you're supposed to say and supposed to try to get the information. I ain't fucking stupid. You get to hear the ones that sound like they have young, pretty voices. Not the old lady I've been smoking for 30 years voice. Or the old man who's really glad he's got a job where he doesn't have to wear his dentures voice. A lot of the older folks on those 988 lines, or at least the older sounding voices, they don't get butthurt as easily, do they? See, with them, they can handle me using curse words, whereas the younger ones tend to start playing victim immediately when they hear one. I'm like, holy shit, you fucking freaky little meth addicts. You probably get twacked at your goddamn gourd as soon as you get off the fucking phone. And I wouldn't be surprised to find that most of them were getting twacked out their goddamn gourds. Mexican 445 type, do you have kids? No, I don't. Hell no, I don't. See, here's the thing. A lot of people think that I hate the LGBT community, right? There's also a lot of people who think that I hate heterosexuals. I send some pretty fucking confusing messages, don't I? No, the moral of the story is that there's predators everywhere, and skin color don't determine who's victimized. It can be a determining factor in whether or not someone gets away with it, but the primary victims are the ones on the streets, the ones nobody's going to listen to. Do you really think I'd do this if I had kids? Do you really think that I'd be able to fight as hard as I do for other people's rights if I had kids? I can do things that parents can't do. If parents do any of the things that I do, they'll lose their fucking kids. You got to hear from a lot of the witnesses in my situation. It wasn't that they weren't a part of it. It's not that they didn't know anything that was going on. It's that they were scared shitless because they got kids. If you type the name Sarah Bacon in my channel and you listen to the conversations with Sarah Bacon, you can also hear some anger. You get to hear with all of these people that I got to make the angry video. I also got to make the video where I'm calmly talking. At the very beginning, I tried to make one video of each for every situation. One where I throw a tantrum and one where I speak softly. Could I break the law to protect other people's kids if I have kids? Probably not. But I would have something in common with the majority of people in America. The highest voting population in the United States, or the highest cross-section, rather, is parents. Parents hold more sway than any other group in the country. We got black parents, we got white parents, we got native parents, we got parents from India, parents from Pakistan, parents from Alaska, parents from all over the place. But you know what? They're parents, and they're American citizens. We got parents in Ohio and in Idaho and Washington State and Oregon. We have parents in every single state of the union. You guys hold the power, not me. All of you who have kids, you hold the power, not me. Now, when it comes to my LGBT friends, most of them threw me away. They don't consider me a part of their group. And I couldn't possibly know what it's like to have to go through hate crimes because some people are bullies who look for any excuse. Many of my gay friends out in Boulder that were homeless thought they were targeted because they were gay. Because it's Boulder, many of my straight friends who were homeless thought they were targeted because they were straight. Most of them, though, most of the white homeless men knew that they were homeless, knew that they were being victimized as a homeless person simply because they were homeless. Those white guys got to see black people being victimized by the same cops that victimized them. And the black man says, well, he only victimized me because I'm black. No, he victimized you because you were homeless, just like he victimized the white guy because he was homeless. Just like he victimized the Christian for being homeless, and the Muslim for being homeless, and the atheist for being homeless. There's also a term called leading the victim. We'll get to the third situation. The kind of treatment that a disabled person gets, a homeless disabled man, when the police don't want to do their jobs. They just pawn us off on mental health. And that costs us all of our money, all of our time jumping through these hoops that don't do us any good because they're not trying to help our mental health. They're trying to profit from getting as much of us crammed into that box that they call an office as possible. Instead of treating their patients, they're treating us like cash cattle. It might take some time to actually help their patient when they come in, or your client. But if you've got somebody booked every single hour, 55 minutes for each person, and then 10 minutes in between each one, you don't have the time to do your job as a mandated reporter if a person needs you to. Which sucks, because that's the reason we're sent to these people to begin with. They're supposed to quote-unquote help us with these things. A lot of y'all, you get to hear the officer say, I should have called 911 at the start. You know what? In many of these situations, an officer was already there. There was also a lot of witnesses there, and the officers made zero attempt to speak with any of them. The officers didn't bother to speak to Dallas Palmer or his mother or any of the other people there, like the majority of the Scudder family. Oh, someone's pulling in with a trailer of some sort. I hope they're alright. Probably just pulling in for the night. Damn. Dropped my phone. So the third time I go into the hospital, what happened is I was intentionally misled and led into a situation where I had to deal with some real crazy people, like the guy whose picture graces the cover of this. I believe I picked the Mark Higgins profile. Let's see. Mexican 445 type, do you believe in God? No, I don't. I believe in the possibility of a God. That's the best you're going to get out of me. I'm a scientist. I believe in science. I believe in patterns when it comes to human beings, especially. Neurotypicals have standard patterns you're easy to read. what you're going to do, what you're going to say, how you think. It's all easy to break down. They're just because we're different. We're simple. Not simple-minded, but simple ones. That's because we're the ones that you ostracize and don't allow to join in any of your reindeer games, so to speak. Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer. Now, I was raised in the system, but my mother wanted us to be Christian. So when we went home on home leave, Mother would take us to church. Mother would take us to church. Scary voice, huh? Mexican 445 typed, who's Officer Schneider? Ah! Alright, so in Washington State, there was a bunch of evidence that I had, and it got stolen by a hobo, and I tried to turn it in. I saw an officer there, just like in Chapel, Nebraska. Ain't no need to call 911 if there's an officer right fucking there. So I flagged him down. This guy had asked me if I had a shirt. He was all fucked up on drugs or something. And I told him I'd get one as soon as I was done making a video real quick. And I started the video, and I had my backpack right next to me and behind me. And he reached down and stole it and left. Well, I seen him walking off, and then I realized my backpack was gone. There was 2 people in the vehicle there. I told him that I asked them about my backpack, if they'd seen it. They told me they saw a guy walking with it, and about that time, the guy hopped over the fence, pulled out my camera, or my phone. I was mostly trying to focus on just keeping him corralled. He didn't know that I wasn't able to run, which is good for me. So I was able to corral him, along with the 2 people in the car, to where Officer Schneider was, and I started telling him what happened, that the guy had just stolen my backpack and hopped over a fence, and he said, well, he doesn't have the backpack now. Like, there was 2 witnesses there even. So the security guards, a couple days later, the security guy came up and told me that he found my backpack. Had a lot of evidence in it, had a computer in it, had a lot of electronic devices in it. The guy later come back and traded one of my phones back to me for a welder that I had. I was going to try to pawn it. I was told there was no pawn shops in that area, that it was illegal. Then on my way out of town, I looked over and realized there was a pawn shop there. All right, so we're going to get to the 3rd visit, right? So the cops pulled their shit. They definitely gloated as much as they could, and they definitely let Lothman be the officer who arrested me. For him to get the pleasure of being that douchebag. Oh, he gloated like a motherfucker. He told me I was being arrested for calling the 911 operator a cunt. You're welcome. Anyway, I was taken to the jail. I did tell Lothman that I was going to see to it he went to prison for a particular crime he committed, that because of the witness safety and because of the nature of it, we'll keep that private for now. Okay, so they didn't take me with the cane. They dropped me off, or they took me to the jail. Got an attitude, of course, and I got an attitude back. They are so nice when they're being condescending cunt rags. Like, smooth. Still bullshit. Anyway, when I was released, I had no cane. The deputies made me walk back by myself, and I had spasms in my back. An ambulance showed up after a guy named Carlos had helped me to get up once, and I was able to make it down the road further. I had another spasm, and then I called 911 for an ambulance. The ambulance showed up. They wouldn't drop me off at my vehicle, and they weren't going to the hospital building that was in town. They were going to the one that was outside of town. When I got to the one outside of town, I was explaining to him that I'd been assaulted there already by Dr. Stephanides, and that I didn't feel safe there. Because at least 6 other mandated reporters just stood there and watched and let it happen and didn't say a goddamn word. There was no reason for that doctor to assault me. Anyway, so the visit, what was it, yesterday or the day before? Fuck, how time flies when life is shitty. We got to the hospital, and at the hospital, what I needed was a cane, first of all, so that I could at least partially make it back to my car, even if I had to stop a whole bunch, or a ride to my car. Well, instead, they didn't do anything about the safety issue that makes me feel unsafe at that hospital, but Erica did. Erica talked to me like I was a person. Then I got to talk to a couple other people in there, and I told them about the assault by Mr. Stephanides and why I felt uncomfortable there. I'd already had my vitals taken while in the ambulance. And of course, you got to hear part of the recording in a couple of videos already with that doctor, the lady doctor, a couple of days ago talked to me. She asked if it's okay if she touched my back. I said no. I had to say it sharply and quickly. I was really, really, really overwhelmed with the situation. I just needed to let her know, hey, there's sensitive parts of my back. Just let me tell you where they are. I didn't get that far. She got her attitude and fucking rolled with it. Since she wanted to be a fucking overwhelming goddamn cunt, I voiced the fact that she was an overwhelming cunt. By the way, Officer Schneider, Tacoma, Washington, 72nd Street, when I tried to turn him in for the bullshit that he pulled and helping that guy get away, as well as getting away with the evidence, there was a lot of evidence on that computer, and that dude didn't give a shit. Not even a little bit. 2 other people that I'd helped out, one of them by letting her use my phone, and one of them by letting him use my computer to contact family. Well, that guy stole my computer, and the lady I let me use my phone stole my phone. I had to buy her a new phone so that I could get my phone full of evidence back. It cost me more money to buy her a new phone than that phone had cost originally. When I tried to turn in Officer Schneider, they sent me to Officer Schneider to talk to Officer Schneider. I had to turn in Schneider to himself, just like I had to turn in DaCosta to himself. Just like I had to turn in Lothman to Lothman. Just like I had to turn in Officer Burke to Officer Burke. It's pretty fucked up. Anyway, I was going to play a couple of things for you, but I want to make sure I have some charge for in the morning. I'm only at 23%. Good to be with you. Thanks for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper and no victim left behind. Hey, Mexican 445. This might actually be a good video that if you go through and find some of that stuff, you can start posting the links. And also, right after you put in the link, type the name of the video. That way it's easy to find. Some of the stuff from Tacoma, you can find it by typing the word Computaco. Computaco. Like you're combining the word computer and taco. I think it's Computaco 1 through 11 or 1 through 12. Might be 13 of them. That's a situation where the cops weren't helping me get my computer back. In the very first one of them, it shows a guy at a rest stop who has a needle in his arm, and he's passed out. And while I'm trying to get video of that to show it's going on. That's when another homeless guy tells me that he knows where my computer is. I'd explained to him that there was evidence of child molesters and rapists and all sorts of other evidence on there. And a lot of us, we don't want that shit. No, not common taco, Mexican 445. Almost like you typed it, but you got to put a P as in Peter and a U as in ukulele after the M and before the T. Taco. Anyway, the ones with the girl who stole my phone, it's called The Girl Who Stole My Phone. There's also one up there with a lady named Jerry who, she was trying to fucking freeze to death in the snow, so I pulled over and helped her out and helped her to not freeze to death. I got to have a little episode like out of Super Troopers. She got into my car. I'd pulled over to the side of the road to make sure that she wasn't dead. And thank goodness she wasn't. She was just passed out. So we'd no sooner gotten into my vehicle than she tells me we're getting pulled over. I said, we can't be getting pulled over. We're already pulled over. Mexican 445 typed Computaco. Yep, that's exactly it. All right. I got to end this video because I'm tired. I can't hardly hear anything. My ears are both swollen, almost shut. There's been a lot of stuff today that I haven't been able to hear. I'm overwhelmed. There's also a TED Talks. The title of it is Give Me a Chance and I Will Change Everything, I believe. And that guy explains about the sensory overload and also about how I can't think while people are talking over me. There is no way to change that. Medications don't fix it. It's not a broken thing. I'm paying attention to you while you're talking. I apologize.